Hey everyone, and welcome back to the live stream. Whether you're here live or catching the replay, I am glad that you are tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the top questions that I get for CPC prep, what's going on with the exam formats, what content I have planned, and of course, we're going to be covering some Q&A. But before we jump in, let me know where you're watching from and how your coding journey is going. Where are you right now in your journey? And as always, if you find this helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so that you never miss a live stream or a video. So why don't we just go ahead and we're going to get started with today's stream. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I am here today doing my live stream Q&A. Happy Monday, coming off from Easter, about a week back now from HealthCon. You know, I got back from HealthCon and oh my God, my allergies started kicking in so bad. And I was taking some Flonase and it was taking care of it. And then at some point in the past few days, I think it may have shifted from allergies into like head cold because now the allergy medicine is not hitting it anymore. So at some point, I think we switched over from the allergy territory into the head cold territory. So I apologize if you see me during the stream grabbing some cough drops or pausing to quick blow my nose or what have you. Just a little bit of congestion going on here today. But I want to say hi to Kim coming in from Texas. We've got Alicia coming in from Iowa. Hey Natasha, hope you had a great Easter. My daughter was gone all of spring break. I was literally on the Uber to the airport on my way back from HealthCon, and my daughter texted me and she's like, I think I'm going to spend my spring break with the next week, like over at my dad's house. And I'm like, okay, I wish you would have told me that a little sooner because I'm literally on my way to the airport to come back. And I would have stayed in Florida a little longer if I knew you weren't going to be there when I got back. And hello to all of our friends coming in from Instagram. I don't see any questions coming in yet from Instagram. I'm trying to keep an eye on those. They're a little bit harder because I have to keep that separate on a different window than the other platforms. But saying hi to Michelle from Minnesota. Did you guys watch the latest video? I think it dropped, what was it, last Monday about the CIC exam. Boy, was that a doozy. I need to make a video, I think, like rating all of the different certifications I've taken so far and like which ones I liked the most versus the least. But boy, was I shocked when I passed that CIC certification. I did not I did not in any way think I was gonna get that one. So yeah, question coming in. We have, how can I get free CEU for a HEMA? So I'm not a HEMA member, and I'm not always up to snuff on the latest stuff with a HEMA. I know there are some offerings out there. And I know they do take AAPC CEUs as a one-to-one match for a HEMA. So if you can find any free AAPC CEUs, those are the ones that will carry over for now. But I know they are on a pause of making some changes to their CEU policies over at a HEMA. They're, I will dare say, unpopular CEU policies over at a HEMA. But if you go to the main channel page, actually, I do have an entire video where I talk about how to find CEUs for free or cheap. It is a little bit more geared towards AAPC. A little bit more geared towards AAPC. But there are some HEMA resources as well. Let me just get that video over here so I can show you. So if you're ever looking for a specific video on the channel and you're not having much luck finding it, one of the things that you can do here is you see on the main channel page where it has this little magnifying glass. Sometimes this is hidden. Mine shows up a little bit different because it's me looking at my own page, and I have different, I guess, software and stuff and add-ons in addition to my YouTube platform. But if you ever can't find it, sometimes there'll be like a little arrow to expand over here, and you can use this magnifying glass to search for whatever topic you think I might have. So in this case, if we're looking for the CEU video, these are all the videos that have CEU in the title. And the closest one I have, I think I did one for 2025. Let's see here. There it is, February 13th, 2025. How to find free and cheap CEUs for AEPC certifications. A lot of those are going to apply for AHEMA as well. Natalie says she's taking her CCS exam on Friday. Good luck to you on that one. I don't know a whole lot about what's going on with the AHEMA formats because I feel like every time I turn around, I hear something else. Some people are saying, oh yeah, I got results right away. Some people are like, oh yeah, it took me 3 months to get my results from my AHEMA certification. So I am not up to snuff on what is the latest and greatest with those AHEMA certifications. Hello from Texas, from Sassy. Carlene says, hello, I'm watching from Florida. I'm currently looking for a job. I have tips for that too. I actually have a whole playlist on job search stuff, and I'm going to be doing some new stuff, I believe, on resumes soon. And actually, I need to update my playlist because I think I have some new job search videos that haven't made their way onto the playlist. But if you go onto the main channel page and you need some help with finding a job, so here we have our main channel page. And if you go down here, looking for a medical coding job, here's all my best advice. And that's all my job search stuff. I actually do think I have some more recent videos that I need to add to this playlist because there's some stuff I think I've made in the past year that should be higher up in here. But I'm going to get that updated hopefully in the next week or two. Becky says, I take my CPC exam on Thursday. Good luck to you. Yeah, let me know. Are you taking it in the exam center, or are you going to be taking it remote? Because I think there's some pros and cons to each one. I think it's convenient to take the remote online proctor, right? But then you take on some more of that responsibility, like making sure that you have the right setup, making sure that you have the right equipment, and then, of course, having to make sure that the certain protections are in place, that you have a quiet workspace, that you don't have pets running around, that you don't have other people possibly coming into that room. And then, of course, the internet connection is also your responsibility as well. I have a question. Do you work freelance? I do work freelance. In fact, most of the medical coding work that I do take on at this point is freelance because a lot of what I'm doing now is in the education and content creation space. So when I do take on projects, it's more so small audits, small education for providers, backlogs, stuff like that. And it's tough because let's say someone has a contract and it's like a month-long contract. Well, I can't drop everything else I'm doing for a month-long contract. So it has to be kind of like this sweet spot of a small enough project. But yeah, as far as my thoughts on working freelance as a medical coder, you can get some great opportunities. It's a little harder to do, I feel, coming out entry level. Like if you're someone who has never worked on a medical coding project before and you want to go right into contract work, I think that could be a little bit difficult unless it's maybe with a certain company, maybe like Optum or something, where they really train those coders coming in. But as far as like planning to become a medical coder and then just take on freelance work from day one, it can be a little bit difficult, but there are a lot of contract opportunities out there, especially in things like risk adjustment, where they'll oftentimes have projects where it's like, hey, we need a whole lot of coders and you're going to be working only for the next few months. So yeah, I think there's opportunities out there, although I do feel conflicted, I guess, sometimes, because I feel like some coders don't always understand the nature of contract work when they take on some of these positions, and then they get very upset when the contract ends after, let's say, maybe the project is only 6 months, and then 6 months ends and they don't have another project from that company. They feel like they've been almost fired or laid off, and unfortunately, that is kind of the nature of taking on contract work. It is per project, and if the project you're working on is over, there's no guarantee that they're gonna have another project for you right after that. Hey, Mallory, I haven't seen you here in a while, but yeah, you passed your CPMA in October. That's awesome. I love that for you. Congratulations. Speaking of which, Claire is asking me about my thoughts on the CPMA. That's on my topic of one of the things I would like to cover in the next month or two, is I want to do some more videos on each certification. And let me know if you guys would rather I make certification breakdowns, like a quick 3-minute short, like a vertical video, or if you want like a whole 10 to 15-minute kind of breakdown on them. Because there's some that I have not taken, but I can kind of give you a rundown of them, like the CDEO. I've not personally taken, but I can run through what is on the exam, materials to study for that certification, but I don't have like insider knowledge of what kind of questions might be on that exam because I've not taken it. But I do know, obviously, of course, about the exam platforms and what the remote proctor and platform and all that kind of stuff is. Which reminds me, on the topic of, well, let me finish up about the CPMA before I start going into stuff about the CIC. So my thoughts on the CPMA, it is a good certification. I think especially if you want to get into auditing, I would not wait until an auditing position comes up for you to get that certification. If you have your eye on eventually getting into auditing, you want to have that CPMA in your back pocket. So that way, if a position opens up and you're looking to climb up that ladder, you already have shown that you have that initiative. You're like, hey, look, I've been wanting to get into auditing for a while. I've already demonstrated my proficiency because I have my auditing credential. So I know the essentials of what the audit process is like, about the feedback that I have to give to providers, about repayments and all that those important portions of the audit. So I think the CPMA is a good one if you want to get into auditing. And remember, though, that the CPMA, like the CPC, is for pro fee coding. So the CPC, the P is for professional, but it doesn't mean professionalism like, oh, I'm such a professional at coding. It's talking about pro fee provider based coding. That's what that certification is for. It's not for inpatient coding. It's not for risk adjustment coding. It is for pro fee coding. So the CPMA is for pro fee auditing. It is auditing in the 1500 form for professional provider based services. There used to be a really cool section where it would show you different resources and websites to go to. And I know it's the link itself, the page itself is still there, but it's not linked, I don't think, anymore. Let's take a look. And I know Kimberly Williams showed it to me the other day because she has it like bookmarked and I don't. But if we look at certifications, view all certifications, CPMA, prepare for the exam. Where is prepare for the exam? Is it taking the exam where they have that? Okay. Yeah, so taking the exam, and then we have the exam breakdown. So the typical 100 questions, 4 hours. You're allowed to have your ICD-10-CM book, your CPT book, your HCPCS book. And they have the breakdown down here. So there's going to be 17 questions on medical record standards and documentation guidelines, 21 questions on compliance and regulatory, 13 questions on coding and reimbursement concepts, 7 on scope and statistical sampling methods, 2 questions on quality assurance and risk analysis, 4 on communication of results and findings. Excuse me. I'm telling you, I think I've moved from allergies into head cold territory. 4 on communication of results and findings, and then 15 cases totaling 36 questions. Whew. And I'm trying to think. Oh, excuse me. I'm telling you. Yeah, and it's been so long since I took my CPMA. I don't think the exam that I took is quite the same as the iteration that was available back when I took it. But yeah, I don't think they have that list anymore of like all the different resources of websites. But in any case, I wanted to go back to talking about the CIC exam. So one of the things in regards to the CIC exam, for those of you that haven't looked into that one before, is with the CIC certification, which is for inpatient coding. So you have to know ICD-10 PCS, is the CIC exam does have fill in the blank questions. So you can see here, includes acute care and inpatient cases in fill in the blank format. Now, what I want to say about the fill in the blank was it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And when I was at HealthCon, I was attending Teach the Teacher. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of questions about, the fill in the blanks. And from the sounds of it, there's still a possibility of that being implemented into other certifications like the CPC in the future. But it doesn't sound like it's a super, super high priority right now. And I personally wouldn't anticipate that through the remainder of 2025. Because again, it just doesn't sound like it's a huge, huge priority right now. It's something that they're still looking into. As far as if it's going to be something that, has better integrity for the exam, is something that's going to give more worth to the certification. So I don't foresee it happening soon, and I do foresee there being quite large advance notice if they do make that switch. But honestly, from what I experienced with the CIC exam, it really wasn't that bad. And one of the things I did like is they told you how many of each type of code they were looking for. So for example, if I was coding a case and there was 10 ICD-10 CM codes and 2 PCS codes, that's how many blanks they gave me. And they told me that's how many they were looking for. So it wasn't quite like Practicode where it's just an exorbitant amount of blanks and you just have to guess if there's 3 ICD-10 CM codes, 7, 20, like they'll tell you how many ICD-10 CM codes, how many PCS codes. And it would stand reason then that would follow suit if they would bring it to other certifications like the CPC. Like they would say, hey, we're going to need 2 CPT codes and 5 ICD-10 CM codes for this case. But honestly, I'm telling you, I don't think the fill in the blanks are going to be quite the death sentence that some people are making them out to be when they hear about the potential of that. Someone says, I'm taking the CIC next week at the testing center. I'm super nervous. I was super nervous too. And I'm going to tell you what helped me the most as someone who's been doing profi coding for over 15 years and had not touched inpatient coding really, is know your exam format, your exam platform format. Because what really helped me out was because I know ICD-10 really well, I was able to skip around the questions. So like when I got to those cases, I'm like, my strategy is I'm going to go through the cases. I'm going to do all the ICD-10 coding first because they're graded on a scale. And a lot of them were coded, a lot of them had way more ICD-10 answers than they did PCS. So there might have been like on a case, you may have coded 8 ICD-10 codes and 2 PCS codes. So I'm like, okay, well, there's a higher weight there of CM. So I'm just going to do all those first. So because I knew the platform really well, I was able to skip through those questions, code the ICD-10 and then go back and focus on the PCS portion of it. So that's kind of where I was able to have a little bit of strategy there. But there is a big, big perk you have if you understand how to navigate that exam platform, especially when you get to that last question, because when you get to that last question, that button to finish the entire exam, like I'm done, let's submit the entire exam, is the exact same spot where you click next question. And if you're not paying attention, you could easily just like click through and finish your exam and that would be it. And you wouldn't have been able to go back. And I've had people say to me like, oh, you can't, I don't know how to flag questions and get back to them. But you can. It's just, again, understanding that exam platform of knowing, okay, if I flag a question, you have to go, there's a little space on the right-hand side where it says contents. And if you open up that space that says contents, it will show you all the different categories and the questions on them, and it will show you where your flags are. So really knowing that platform is key. And there are tutorials that help you understand the platform. Rebecca says, I take my CPC exam on the 30th of this month. Well, lots of luck to you, Rebecca. I hope you do really, really well. I think this is a good year to take it too. I think it's been a nice kind of like steady, I guess, almost year for medical coding. Although someone was telling me, I went to one of the interviews I did when I was at HealthCon was with Dr. Z, and he says there's going to be quite a lot of changes coming for 2026, I guess, in his arena. So more to come on that. Anna says, hi, Victoria, and God bless you. Congratulations on your success. I admire you and your knowledge in coding. Thank you for sharing your expertise on YouTube. Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys have ideas for videos, things that you're struggling with, definitely keep them coming, because I have like things that are like, here's all my ideas of things to come out with. But if I see something that's much more pressing, that I'm like, oh my gosh, I see that there's a lot of coding students that are struggling or would need some benefit for whatever, I'm happy to create some content there. One of the next videos I have coming up, because I was at Teach the Teacher with HealthCon, is they go over the top concepts that people miss with the certification exam with the CPC. So I'm going through those slides now, and obviously I don't want to just copy their exact content, because that would not only be like unethical, but just like a big jerky thing to do. But like some of the coding concepts are things like twin deliveries. So I'm going through and then making similar cases on the same concept, like another common case for like twin deliveries. So I'm going through that now and putting that together for you guys, so I can go, okay, so here's like the things with skin lesions, and this is what, you know, people are getting tripped up on, and going over some cases for that to share with you guys as well. Oh, and I completely forgot I have my Instagram people over here. I've just been watching them come in and out. Rex, he says, I really want to get into CDI, but really hard to get into that unless you're a nurse, etc. It's kind of gone back and forth. There was a good period of time, I would say maybe in like the 2010s, where that was very true. And even I was advising people, like, if you want to get into CDI, like, unless you have an RN or at least an LPN, don't bother, because they don't want to hire nurses. That has really come back around because of so much advocacy that's being done in the health information management community, where people are like, hey, just because I've never cathed a patient doesn't mean that I don't understand clinically what's going on there. Just because I've never treated a patient for sepsis doesn't mean I don't know what the clinical criteria for that is. So, because there was so much pushback from that community, there is a lot more opportunity now in documentation improvement in even more arenas than there was previously. So because of things like value-based care, we're seeing a lot more people that are working with provider education on that standpoint and documentation improvement, even with just diagnosis coding to make sure that we're capturing everything within a year to submit to insurance for different benefits, different value-based care packages, risk adjustment coding. We're working on pro-fee coding. We're working on the inpatient facility side. So there's a lot of different areas where documentation improvement and review has really come into play. And there's also some questions on Instagram about documentation improvement or documentation integrity training, where to find training at. That it really depends. I think if you're someone who really wants a strong career in that arena, it's not something that you could just go out and get like one certification for and be like, okay, now I'm a documentation improvement specialist. If you're really looking at getting into that as your full-time career, you might want to consider getting a certification, associate's degree in health information management, and going for your RHIT credential certification, whatever you want to call it, through a HEMA, which means that you would have to go through a particular accredited program to do that. Lindsay's asking, do you get your test results right away with the CPC? A lot of people get them very quickly. I've taken some online or with the exam center, where I've had my certification results in less than 24 hours. My last one with the CIC took a little bit longer. It took a little over 24 hours. Just one second. And I'm not sure if that's because I took the CIC and that one typically takes longer, or because of what transpired during the exam. So if you have a pretty uneventful AAPC certification exam, typically you'll get your results pretty quickly, within a couple of hours. There are times, though, where they will take more of a look into things. So if they see an unusual pattern, like you had a really high test score, or there was just weird keyboard activity, or the exam got paused, which I think may have been why mine took a little bit longer, is because, I've told everyone 100 million times that during the exam, there's no search functions. You can't right click and search, and you can't hit Control F and search. So there I am in my active exam, and I'm like, let me just make sure that when I'm telling people this, that it's still 100% accurate. So I start right clicking my keyboard, and nothing's happening. And I go, okay, cool. Like, I was right on that. And then because I was had a really long case, and I'm like, well, it would be like beneficial if I could just do a Control F and look for this one certain word. So I'm like, let me just double check and make sure that I can't. And then I hit the Control F, and it paused my entire exam. So it wasn't just a matter of it didn't let me do it. It literally paused my exam, and I just like froze because I'm looking at the screen, and I'm like, is there a way I can unpause this? And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't think I can. Let me just go get the proctor and tell them what I did. So I had to go out of my exam center into the little kind of like office corridor just outside, and I'm like, hey, I was taking my exam and I wanted to see if the search functions were working. So I hit the Control F, and it completely paused my exam. And then she came in, and she was able to unpause it for me and get me situated back together. So I'm not sure if maybe my exam took a little longer to grade because they wanted to double check, like run that part of the video or something and see like what was going on my screen, if I was doing anything funny. But yeah, they can do that too, by the way. They can pull the recordings of your screen recording of everything that you're doing on your exam. And also, if you're doing the remote online proctor, they can pull your webcam footage to see if there was anything funny going on during your exam as well. So if they see that you got like a 99% on your exam and, you know, something would flag them that they wanted to take a look at that, they can see like what you're on what was going on your webcam, if there was unusual activity, like things were being clicked and your fingers weren't moving, or you're taking your exam but you're like looking all up in the corner or something, you know, that would look like you may have been cheating on the exam, essentially. Brandy says, how many questions are on the CPC exam? There are 100. Excuse me. And let me show you, because there's a spot. If you're ever curious about what the contents are of any of AAPC's exams, what you do is you go to the AAPC website and you go to all the certifications. Pick whatever certification is that you're interested in, that you want to know the breakdown for. So if we're saying CPC, go to the CPC and then hit this button that says taking the exam over here. And if you start scrolling down, you have to keep scrolling. That's the key. You got to keep scrolling. It will give you the exam breakdown. So tell you all the stuff that's on the exam as far as the topics and how many questions there's going to be. So you can do that with the majority of the certifications on there. I know at least like the core credential ones. So let's see if I'm going to do the CPCO and we go to taking the exam. It will show here the breakdown of all the different question topics for the CPCO exam, which is not one I've taken, but Lynn says, when you are using the ebook, when you're using, sorry, let me start again. If you are using the ebooks during the exam at the testing center, can you pull up the CPT book, etc., on the same screen? Because when taking the practice test at home, you cannot. And that's actually a great thing to bring up. And I asked them this during Teach the Teacher. I said, hey, you know, one of the problems we're having with the ebooks when we're using the practice exams is you can't view both of them at the same time. And let me see if I can kind of show you guys what I mean. Let's see here. APC purchases. I know it's under exams. Hold on. Courses and exams. And I'll show you what I mean with the practice exams. Practice exam A. I'll use this one because I know they kind of show the first question of this one in their sample videos. And let me get into Vital Source too. No, maybe not. Hold on. I'll split the screen here. Okay. So let's stop, and I'm going to share the screen over here. Let's do the entire screen on screen 2. Okay. So if I'm taking a practice exam and I'm over here, you can see the practice exam now. As soon as I go over to click on the book, it's going to show you that the content is hidden, and they'll say your exam is still active, but you have to click back onto this window and all the keys to continue. So it does not do that, though, for the live exam. That is just for the practice exams. And I asked the AAPC when I was at Teach the Teacher, I'm like, hey, is this just the nature of the platform and there's absolutely nothing that can be done about it? Or are you able to look into some kind of methodology so that you can practice on both? And they said that there really isn't anything as far as the platform that they can do about it. So that is just kind of, I guess, one of the problems with working on the practice exams and the ebooks at the same time, is that it is going to hide that content when you're trying to click on the ebook and click off of that practice exam. But when you are in the actual exam itself, it won't do that. And let me see if I can pull up one of the demos, because I think I have it linked in one of my videos. Let's see here. That's the proctor instructions. PMIC ebook tips. Let's see if it's there. Oh, there it is. Okay. So if we go, yeah. On their tutorial here, you can see, yeah, so this is what it will look like when you're taking the actual exam and using the ebooks. So the ebooks will be here on your right-hand side, but you can also pop them out and move them around. Now, again, you will only have access to one monitor for the exam, whether you're taking it at the exam center or via the remote online proctor. But you can pop them out, you can move them around and navigate kind of that way. Rebecca, the CPC questions are 100 questions, and they are multiple choice. And it is certifications. They do have the full breakdown on the AAPC website, down under the taking the exam. So you can see, oh, here we go. So you can see all the stuff that's on the exam as far as the breakdown of what types of questions they're going to ask. I'll tell you that the areas that most people struggle with is the 6 E&M questions and the cardiology series questions. So your excuse me. So your 30,000 series. Those are the two areas that most people have trouble with. Thank you, Natasha, for letting me know that I'm on mute. Sorry, I was sniffling a little bit there, and I had myself on mute. My apologies. Yeah, so Rachel came in with a question. She says, I currently work only with behavioral health claims. Would taking the CPC give me an edge at all, or is this mainly for medical billing? Just give me 1 second here. So, behavioral health is kind of a small scope. There's not a lot of expansiveness in the code selections for behavioral health. And the coding certification is really more so covering all aspects of professional fee coding. So not just behavioral health, but skin and cardiology and, GI and diagnosis codes, equipment. So if you're looking to expand yourself beyond behavioral health and you're looking at maybe doing some coding in different specialties, it might be a good choice. But I think if you're just looking for staying in just behavioral health, um, or staying in just the billing maybe aspects of behavioral health, I'm not sure that it would be a huge advantage as far as that's concerned. I do think the AAPC has some specialized training in behavioral health, but not necessarily a certification per se in behavioral health. Stat says, Preppy, it's good to teach people who don't have a perfect English. Preppy is a really good program. However, I will say that if you are looking to get into a career in healthcare or in medical billing and coding, it's going to be a big barrier to try to navigate English as well as all of the medical terminology as well. And there is communication aspects that do come with medical coding. And I was actually recently talking to some of my friends over in the Puerto Rico chapter, and they said that they even make their students, because the exams are in English, the materials are all in English, that they really have to be strong in their English to be successful with medical coding. Excuse me. But while we're on the topic, though, I do want to mention, for those of you who aren't familiar with Preppy, if you're looking to get into a medical billing and coding training program and you want something that's affordable, you want something that's going to be at your own pace, I would recommend looking into Preppy. That's the program that I partner with, that I recommend. You can find out more about them at medicalcodingmasterclass.com. They are a wonderful program. They give you basically everything you need to get job ready as a medical biller and coder. If you want to take the CPC exam, which not everyone does, some people just want to get into billing, you will have to pay separately for the AAPC membership and for the exam fee. But other than that, almost everything is included. You get your med term, you get your medical coding training. They have payment programs available. There's externship opportunities, which you don't get in a lot of other programs. And I will actually take you over to the website so we can take a look at it. Excuse me. But Preppy is preppy.org. They are partnered with Auburn University. So when you complete your training there, you do get a certificate of completion from Auburn University. It does include also 80 contact hours of medical coding education, which is great for helping remove one of the years of requirement of apprenticeship off of your CPC. So if we take a look here, you can find out a lot of the information on their website, including pricing. It's a little bit on the bottom, just kind of like on the AAPC website where you have to scroll to the bottom to get all the information about the exam breakdown. Same thing with Preppy. So you can pay in one installment of $15.99. They will include a laptop if you pay in the one installment. But there is a payment plan available as well. And there's a lot of support. They're fantastic. Anytime I see someone online, which isn't often, it really is not often, that's like, "Hey, I can't hear back from someone," or, "I'm having this issue," I will email it over to Preppy, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we already know about such and such, we've contacted them so many times," or, "Yeah, we're gonna get right on top of this." They're great, and they have a great comprehensive program, and we have a really great relationship. And they just take such good care of my viewers, like amazing. And if you're ever interested in finding out more about them or just about a career in medical billing and coding, you can head over to medicalcodingmasterclass.com to find out more. Ashley says, if you've taken a program that certifies you through the NHA, how would I go about getting my AHIMA certification? So AHIMA certifications, if you're looking for your RHIT, RHIA, you have to have a certain degree from a certain organization in order to do that. If you're just looking for something like a CCS, my understanding is that you can just go on AHIMA's website and register for the exam there. So let's see. I know they've been a little bit difficult lately, but let's take a look. See if I can. There we go. So certification, HEMA certifications. Let's say you're looking for the CCS. Get certified now. Yeah, so that would be the exam process. Before submitting an application, carefully review the candidate guide. Applicants who are determined to be ineligible and submit an ineligible application or request withdrawal will receive a refund minus a $75 processing fee. So yeah, I would just go through the HEMA website and kind of go through the steps that they have outlined here, depending on what certification you want to get with the HEMA. Sonia says, I have a question about tabs for CPC. I created my own tabs with CPT code numbers on the tabs. Will I have a problem on the day of testing? You should not. And I'm going to show you what it says on the APC website. So let's see here. If we go to the APC website and we look at their exam FAQs in person, let's actually just do this tab. What's allowed in our books? Handwritten notes are acceptable in the coding books only if they pertain to daily coding activities. Questions from the study guide, practice exams, or the exam itself are prohibited. Tabs may be inserted, taped, pasted, glued, or stapled in the manual so long as the obvious intent of the tab is to earmark a page with words or numbers, not supplement information in the book. So yeah, you should be just fine having tabs in your book with the CPT code numbers on them, so long as you are using a tab and not like a giant half-page sticky note, and then on the inside of that, supplemented information in the book. So as long as it's just a tab and you're clearly marking a page, that's fine. I put myself on freaking mute again. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So what schools do I feel are best for a degree in medical billing and coding? For medical billing and coding, you don't really necessarily need a degree. There are jobs out there that I will see that will recommend an associate's degree or higher, which some people confuse and think that means that they need to have that, but it's just a kind of would be nice type thing. As far as associate's degrees, I have not looked too heavily into any of the programs. I personally recommend a Preppy for certification or just going directly through the AAPC, local community colleges. But as far as just a degree in medical billing and coding, I don't know of any programs that are really preferable over one over another. at least to start off with for an associate's degree. I know a lot of people that I talk to online really like WGU, and they have had really great things to say about that college. Other than that, I don't know that it's really a better program for like an associate's degree in billing and coding. Blooming Beauty says, hi again, Victoria. I have a question. I'll be taking my CCA in June. I'm not seeing many employment offers for a CCA in the medical billing and coding field. What can I do with the CCA? Honestly, I don't work a lot with the HEMA. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go to Indeed.com. And we're going to search. Stop. We're going to search for a coding job. And let's say I have a CPC and I type in here that I'm looking for a CPC position and stop doing this. And I'm looking for a job that says CPC in it. It's going to bring up a lot of different jobs, 400 plus jobs, right? If I did the same thing for CCA, not quite as many, and a lot of them aren't even going to be coding because there's, I think, another certification or something that's CCA. So really the CCA has fallen off. I ran a survey on LinkedIn a while ago about, do we think the CCA is still a worthwhile credential? Because technically you can just go right for your CCS. There's no requirement saying you have to start with a CCA. And there was pretty resounding feedback saying that a lot of people just feel like it would be better to go right for the CCS. I know some places include CCA certification payment through like their training programs, but yeah, I'm not up to snuff on what kind of opportunities the CCA specifically would bring anymore. And I would tend to agree that I'm not really seeing a lot of places that are requesting specifically CCA coders. Kristen says, what does the real coding work look like? Is it like the case studies? It is much more similar to the case studies than anything else. Obviously with HIPAA, it's kind of hard to show what real medical coding looks like because we can't just show you an active live medical record system and be like, hey, this is what it looks like, and this is what the queue looks like, and this is what this looks like because of patient privacy. So I'm trying to make some more applications for my channel that might mimic that more. But yeah, the cases themselves, it's like going into electronic medical record, and each note that's written on a patient is not going to be like a multiple choice question. It's going to be a big written note. Like if you've ever here's what I'll say, go into your own patient portal and read your notes. That's what it's going to look like. Any notes that you have access to that you can read on your patient healthcare portal through whatever provider or hospital you go to, that's what it's going to look like. And those are the cases that you're going to have to code. It's not going to be like a short little thing. It's going to be a whole note of your entire visit with your provider, or your entire surgery, or your entire lab study. So it's going to be a lot more like that. I'm going to pop over to Instagram real quick and see what we got. I have a question here. Do you have any resources for coding workers' compensation and occupational health? Specifically for those, I don't. I'm trying to think if I know of anything that would be specific to workers' comp and occupational health, because I tend to be the person who's like, well, they all need to follow the same coding guidelines that everyone else does, but I know there are some nuances there. And honestly, I'm not aware of a lot of training specifically targeted towards work comp and occupational health. I used to know someone who I think did some, but we're talking, oh my gosh, like 10 years ago, and I'm not sure he's still around. We have a question on LinkedIn too. Yeah, all the LinkedIn stuff comes through. It's just the Instagram stuff that doesn't. Let me scroll back and see if I can find what you're talking about. I do want to say thank you to Stat Ketty for the super sticker, and to Alicia Meyer as well for the super chat, super sticker. Did I miss a question for you? Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I get back to these. Stat Kenny super sticker, Alicia Meyer. I don't see a question attached, but let me just make sure I didn't miss one from Alicia. Alicia says, appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with the exams. Thank you, Alicia. I appreciate it. Oh, Mallory's asking about the ebooks. So thoughts, if you like the ebooks for the exams, I read that you have to use an ebook from a shared library. Seems like a disadvantage since you won't be able to add any notes. So that is one of the things you have to consider. And I think that's what kind of kept me away from using the ebooks for my CIC exam. If I was taking any other like Profi coding related certification where I'm already pretty familiar, I think I would have probably just opted to use the ebooks. But with the CIC, yeah, that was my problem. I'm like, there's a few things that I just want to write the notes down. I'm like, there was like a table for something that I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to memorize all of the all of the different characters for this table combination. So I'm just going to write it in my book in case I get a question. And that was kind of what kept me for having that still using my paper books. But a lot of people have said that they really prefer using the ebooks, and I think some people have to consider cost too, because remember, our code books update every single year, and we have so many people that test in the year after that they've done their studies, or maybe they're testing 2 years after. Maybe they had to take some time off, and they're like, I really don't want to have to spend $300 on a new set of books, in addition to having to pay that exam fee and having to pay for the AAPC membership, especially if they're not working at the time. So that can be a huge cost savings for them to not have to worry about purchasing all of those additional paper books, because when you select to use the ebooks, yeah, they are in that shared library. So there isn't an additional cost above what you would pay for the exam itself. So it's really personal preference. I do think there will come a day. I don't think it'll be in this year or next year, but I do think there may come a day where we are required to use ebooks for the certification exams, because if we think forward far enough to things like ICD 11, that's not going to be in paper books. I honestly am not sure that they're going to publish paper ICD 11 books because of just how expansive it is. The books would be like this thick. They'd be thicker than my head. So I think there will eventually come that day, probably not in the next couple years, but it wouldn't surprise me. And we also have to think about things like exam integrity. There have been, unfortunately, instances in the past of people who have tried to stretch what they're allowed to write in their books, or people that were focusing less on understanding the coding concepts and more so on things like, well, what are some cheat sheets I can write in my book, or what's the special things that I can notate in here. And we've been moving more and more away from that even being successful anymore, because of just the way that the exam is. One thing that I learned recently is when you're sitting for the AAPC certification exams now, the answers are randomized. So it used to be answer A, B, C, and D, and they always stayed A, B, C, and D. And now you'll notice they actually don't say A, B, C, and D anymore. They're just radio buttons. So it's just option, 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 and you select which one is the right option. And now with the exam platforms all being electronic, they're randomized. So they're not always going to be in the same sequence. So there's less. I won't want to say there's no one trying to memorize answers anymore. There's still people trying to memorize questions and answers. But it's so randomized. It's not like you can go, oh yeah, this question, the answer is going to be option C, because they're going to move those all around. So I think they do want to move towards just more things to protect the integrity of the exam. and have the exam be recognized and more valued by employers. And employers, they like the electronic tools because shipping paper books is expensive. And Kristen, thank you for coming in with a $4.99 super sticker. Greatly appreciate you for that. Stat Kenny, I would contact help@preppy.org because they can give you a better feel for the exact format of the program and if it's going to be a good fit for you specifically. Oh, and I got to get my second backup drink now. We're coming on, though, at just an hour, so that might be a good kind of time to wrap it up. But yeah, some more content coming up. If you guys have any more feedback for me, though, on the certification breakdowns, and if you like the 10 to 15 minute videos breaking down each certification, or if you would rather me keep it down to like a 3-minute short, like maybe, hey, if you're taking the CPMA exam, here's the top 5 things you need to know. Definitely let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.